My name is Lorna Davina, and this is a story time about the cost of the future. No one can predict what's coming next, but you can watch the people who are trying to build it. And right now, there are a few narratives that are unfolding that most people are just not tracking. Not because they're secret, but because they require attention. And attention is the only resource we've been trained to spend carelessly. But if we slow down long enough to actually look, we can see that something is happening. Two men who helped build the Earth's most powerful technology on Earth together are now in an extremely expensive, extremely public fight about where it goes next. One believes that the future will be engineered here, on this planet. The other believes that the future is out there. Space, expansion, escape velocity. And last week, both of them revealed how they see the world and you in it. It starts with an AI summit in India. A reporter asks OpenAI CEO Sam Altman a pretty standard question. What about the environmental costs of AI? The energy, the water, the strain on the power grids? And Altman says, and I need you to actually hear this, that it is unfair to criticize AI's energy use without acknowledging that it also takes a lot of energy to train a human. He says it takes 20 years and all the food you consume before you actually become smart. He even brings up the entire history of human evolution, 100 billion people learning not to get eaten by predators, as the training costs of producing a single person. And then he digs himself deeper. He says that AI has probably already caught up to humans in energy efficiency, and that concerns about water consumption, of which these machines require a lot of to keep them cool, well, the water concerns are completely untrue, totally insane, not even connected to reality. And the internet, well, it predictably loses its mind. Some investors publicly just stated that this statement alone made them lose trust in his leadership. And Reddit does what Reddit does and gathers every post-Altman critique in one chaotic thread. One person said, I don't want to see a world where we equate a piece of technology to a human being. Sam watches Terminator and roots for the Terminators, which, I get it. But here's the thing. Whether he's technically right or technically wrong, it doesn't matter. Because the CEO of the world's most powerful AI company on Earth just told the world that your child and his chatbot are comparable training expenses. And that's not even a bad analogy. That's a worldview. And worldviews, especially when they sit on top of trillion-dollar infrastructures, have consequences. So let's talk about what this worldview is actually costing us. And here's the thing that most people do not realize about AI training costs. Training a model or building a brain, that's the expensive part that headlines talk about. What the actual grid is eating is inference. Inference, you can think of as the cost of thinking. It's what happens every time a person asks the model a single question. Every prompt, every image, every chatbot answer. It never stops. Inference now accounts for roughly 2/3 of all AI compute, and it's growing. And here's where it gets strange. Researchers recently discovered that you can make AI smarter by letting it think longer before answering. I mean, this makes sense. We think longer, we too have a better answer. They call it test time compute, which means the more the models reason, the more energy they burn. A basic ChatGPT query uses about 10 times more energy than a Google search, and a reasoning query up to 100 times more that. And this industry is scaling both at once. They're building bigger models with deeper thinking. The costs, they don't add, they're multiplying. So what is all that energy actually doing? Over half of new published articles online are AI generated. Bot traffic has surpassed human traffic for the first time in internet history. 1 in 5 videos YouTube recommends is AI slop. You know the stuff. Fake news anchors, cat soap operas, cat Olympics, content that exists for no reason other than to trigger the algorithm for a fraction of a cent. And every piece of this, it costs real electricity from real power plants connected to real communities. Over 80% of phishing emails are AI generated. These emails are grammatically perfect with no Nigerian prince energy. Voice cloning scams have exploded. It takes like 3 seconds of audio to clone someone's voice. And even the legitimate users, they're displacing the very people Sam says are expensive to train. Lawyers, radiologists, software engineers, writers. And all of it is running on models trained on our data. Shocker, I know. Data scraped without consent or compensation. The raw material is us, the product is replacing us, and the bill is going to us. There are nearly 4,000 data centers in the United States. Nearly 3,000 more are coming. Regulators approved nearly $12 billion in rate increases last year to accommodate them. Your electric bill went up. By 2028, data centers could consume 12% of all US electricity. So when Sam compares AI to raising a human, it's like saying one car trip to the store is cheaper than raising a horse. Sure, but like he's not talking about one car trip. He's building the entire highway system. The cars keep on getting bigger and they burn more fuel, and every few months he scraps them and builds new ones. And the rest of us are standing here asking, a highway to where, Sam? And then, at the summit, in the same interview, a reporter asks Altman about something completely different. Well, what about putting data centers in space? And this is where the other guy enters the story. But to understand why this moment matters, you need a little backstory. In 2015, Sam Altman and Elon Musk co-founded OpenAI. The idea was enormous and almost romantic. Build artificial intelligence that benefits humanity, do it as a nonprofit, and keep it safe. Musk put in most of the early money, nearly $38 million. He recruited talent, he lent his name, and for years, these two guys were aligned. Then in 2018, Musk left the board. The reasons, they depend on who you ask. He says it was conflicts of interest with Tesla, others say he wanted control and just didn't get it. Either way, he walked. And then in the years that followed, OpenAI did the one thing that Elon Musk said they promised they would never do. They converted from a nonprofit to what is roughly a $500 billion company. Now Musk, not exactly known for letting things go, launched his own company, XAI. What had been a partnership turned into a rivalry, a public one, an ideological one, and an extremely expensive one. So when that reporter in India asks Altman what he thinks about putting data centers in space, which just so happens to be Musk's newest obsession, the reason he merged SpaceX with XAI, and why he's publicly planning to file with the FCC to launch massive orbital compute, Altman doesn't hedge. He says, I honestly think the idea is ridiculous. Ridiculous, he says. The math doesn't work. We can't fix a broken chip in orbit. Orbital data centers won't matter at scale in this decade. Meanwhile, Musk is like, 2 to 3 years. Google says maybe a decade. Bezos says 20. But China, it's already launching. So, the man who just compared your child's energy costs to a chatbot also just dismissed the biggest alternative energy solution as absurd. And the person he's dismissing is literally the guy he built OpenAI with. They created the most important AI company on Earth together. And now they can't even agree what direction is up, like literally. Okay, so Elon Musk. I know. Depending on who you are, you just leaned in or you checked out. He's polarizing. He tweets things that make you want to throw your phone. He wades into politics that make a lot of people deeply uncomfortable. And he has a flair for the dramatic that absolutely sometimes veers into absurdity. I'm not here to defend any of that. This is not that video. But what's also true, and I think it is so important to hold both truths at once, this is a person with a track record of delivering engineering results that experts said were impossible. SpaceX was a punchline when it started. Rockets don't land themselves until they did. And reusable orbital rockets were a fantasy until they weren't. They've launched over 9,000 satellites. They land boosters on drone ships in the ocean like it's routine. I'm gonna be super straight here because it's pretty much fact. The modern commercial space industry runs on infrastructure Elon built. You really do not have to like him. But when Elon says he's going to build hardware and put it into orbit, history says you should probably just pay attention. And here's a deeper thing. When you look at what AI can do when it's pointed to real problems, not cat operas, not content farms, you start to understand why someone would bet this big. Google DeepMind solved protein folding. This was a problem that stalled biology for nearly 50 years. And Google DeepMind, they solved it in months. That single breakthrough is accelerating research in Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, diseases that we never even had a name for. AI systems have identified anti-aging drug candidates. More than 70% of this has worked in actual real testing. There are companies with Nobel Prize winners and billions of dollars betting that aging itself is an engineering problem. This is the side of AI that just doesn't go viral. This is real and it's starving for energy. That same energy currently powering infinite Slop. Musk's argument, whether you believe it or not, is simple. You don't fight over a fixed energy pie on Earth. You go where the energy is. So what is he actually proposing? Well, SpaceX already operates thousands of satellites in orbit. They run electronics off of solar power, managing heat, transmitting data through laser links. Higher orbits get sunlight more than 99% of the time. Solar panels in space don't deal with night cycles, weather, atmospheric loss. Musk claims that SpaceX could add 100 gigabytes of AI compute capacity per year in orbit. For context, the entire US grid averages around 500 gigawatts. Now, zoom out. If the fastest growing source of electricity demand on Earth moves off Earth, the pressure moves with it. The grid wars calm down and the rate hikes slow. Communities stop fighting data centers over water and power. This isn't because we've solved scarcity on the ground, but because the thing accelerating scarcity left. And here's this one part that almost nobody wants to truly understand or believe. Or maybe it was just never taught to us in a meaningful way. Nearly all of the energy in our solar system is in one place, the sun. What reaches Earth's surface is a tiny fraction of that, and what we capture is a fraction of that fraction. Every fossil fuel, every hydro dam, every nuclear plant. These are workarounds for not directly harvesting the source. Meanwhile, the AI industry is preparing to spend over $1 trillion a year on compute infrastructure. This is not small economically. This is massive pressure on civilization. So maybe consider space. Not because it's cool, not because rockets are aesthetic, which, I mean, they kind of are, but because that is where the energy is. So here's what we're actually looking at. Two men who started the same company with the same mission now represent two completely different futures. Sam Altman's answer to the energy problem is build more data centers, more power plants, more grid, nuclear, solar, wind, gas, all of it, whatever works, and build it really, really fast. He's planning on building a mega data center in Abu Dhabi, which would require the equivalent of 5 nuclear reactors. 5. His bet is that Earth-based energy infrastructure, it can scale fast enough to feed AI's appetite. But right now, that appetite is winning. Utilities are scrambling. Power plants, these take years to permit and build, and AI demands grow every month. Communities are voting down data centers. Politicians are proposing moratorium. Behind all of this, our electricity bills are rising. Meanwhile, Elon Musk's answer is move the hungriest part of the system off Earth, put compute in orbit. This would bring us unlimited solar, no grid fights, no zoning hearings, no neighborhood lawsuits, and no energy bill spikes. His bet is that launch costs will drop fast enough to make space-based commute economically viable. And if you look at his career, that's the only bet he's ever made. Drive down costs until the impossible becomes mundane. Now, neither of them may be right. Both of them may be partially right, but the choice between the two paths, expand Earth's infrastructure at breakneck speed or expand civilization into orbit, that's not just a tech debate. This is a civilization's structural decision. This all determines whether, because of the data centers, your electricity bill will keep climbing. It determines whether your town or city gets a data center that it didn't want. It determines whether AI becomes a grid crisis or a solar harvest. And underneath the billion-dollar rivalry and the trillion-dollar bets and the FCC filings, there's a question I genuinely don't know the answer to. What if AI generates oceans of slop and scam, but is also accelerating the cure for your mom's cancer? Because both of those things are running on the same hardware, running on the same electricity, built from the same stolen, scraped human data. Spam and science are sharing the same bloodstream, and every day the incentives point toward engagement over discovery, toward clickbait over cure. This gap between what technology is doing and what it could do is getting wider. So let's just recap for a second. If you zoom out, it's a little absurd. Two men co-founded a nonprofit to save humanity with artificial intelligence. One of them left to start a direct competitor, and the other converted a nonprofit into a company valued at now over $5 billion. They are publicly calling each other's ideas ridiculous. They are suing each other. They are building the most powerful technology in human history. We are watching a civilian-level fork in the road shaped by two men who apparently can't be in the same room without lawyers. These are the people deciding our future. This isn't meant to be cynical. It's just the truth. You can see for yourself how they talk to each other publicly on X. You're allowed to find all of this funny, and you're also allowed to find it completely terrifying. So here's what I keep coming back to. As a mom, as someone who makes things for a living, both of these futures are real. In one version, AI keeps scaling and the grid can't keep up. Every kilowatt is turning into a fight between your air conditioner and a data center. And it doesn't end in a Hollywood apocalypse. It ends in rationing, in rolling blackouts, in communities saying, please stop. In the other version, someone actually solves the energy bottleneck. Compute moves to orbit, the pressure lifts off the ground. And maybe the part of AI that cures disease, that accelerates science, that expands human potential, maybe it actually gets the boost it needs. My guess, we end up somewhere in between. Messier than the dream of orbital compute, but less catastrophic than the nightmare of scaling energy on Earth. Some of it will work, some of it will fail. Some of the people building it will be visionaries, some of them will be completely full of it. Most will be a little both. But the real question isn't Sam or Elon. The real question is, who pays for all of this and who benefits? Are we building for everyone or just for the few people selling the future? You don't need to pick a billionaire to root for. You just need to be paying attention. Because even though it feels like it, this isn't a science fiction movie. We're debating infrastructure, policy, your electric bill, and your kid's future. This is a new channel. It kind of feels like an old campfire where I'm trying to tell stories about the world that makes them make a little bit more sense. If that's interesting to you, if you want more long-form thinking in a short-form world, please consider subscribing to help me continue to grow this channel. And if you agree or disagree or think I'm completely wrong or think I'm AI, come argue with me in the comments. I'll be there. Bye for now.